My girlfriend cheated while I worked double shifts to buy our home, so I sold the house and left her with nothing but her guilt. I'm a 28-year-old guy, and for the past year, I've been working double shifts to buy a home for me and my girlfriend. Emily. That sentence alone still hits me, because I remember how proud I felt every time I walked into work. Exhausted but determined, I gave up everything: weekends, sleep, any scrap of a social life, just to see that savings account slowly rise. Every time I told myself, it'll be worth it. We're building something real. Back then, Emily felt like my biggest supporter. She'd show up at my job with a thermos of homemade soup or a sandwich wrapped in foil, smiling like she couldn't wait to see me. "You're amazing," she'd whisper, brushing hair out of my eyes. "I'm so proud of you." "Babe," she'd even brag to her friends, saying things like, "He's working so hard so we can have our dream home." I'd hear it from coworkers who knew her friends, people telling me I was boyfriend of the year. Inside, I held on to those moments like oxygen. Whenever my body begged me to rest or my eyes burned from fatigue, I just pictured us walking into the house together. Hands intertwined, laughing like we made it. It kept me alive. It made every missed birthday, every canceled plan, every 3 a.m. shift worth it. But somewhere along the way, something changed quietly, almost too quietly to catch it first. Emily started going out more, claiming she needed girl nights to unwind. She'd text me, "You're working anyway, so you don't mind, right?" Sometimes she wouldn't come home until late, smelling like perfume that wasn't hers, or covered with glitter from bars she never mentioned. That she was lonely, that I wasn't giving her enough time. But every time she left the house dressed up, saying she'd be with the girls, something in my chest tightened, and I couldn't shake the growing feeling that our dream suddenly felt like mine alone. I kept telling myself everything was fine, but the shift in Emily's behavior was impossible to ignore. She started guarding her phone like it held state secret, turning it face down, lowering the brightness, stepping into the hallway to answer messages. Once, I walked into the room while she was texting, and she jumped like I'd caught her doing something illegal. "Relax," she snapped, clutching her phone. "It's just Sarah. You're being weird." Her tone stung more than the words, but I let it slide. I always let things slide because in my head I kept repeating, "She's stressed. She's lonely. She misses you." The guilt of not being present enough made me swallow every doubt. I worked double shifts, of course she felt neglected. That's what I told myself. Even when her stories didn't add up, she started dressing differently when she went out in nicer outfits. Heavier makeup, perfume she never wore for me. When I half joked, "Big night?" she replied, "Maybe I just want to feel pretty. Can't I do that without getting interrogated?" I apologized, even though I hadn't accused her of anything. My friends noticed the change before I admitted it to myself. One night, while we were grabbing a quick meal before my shift, my buddy Jared said, "Man, are you sure Emily's okay? She's been out a lot lately." I laughed it off, saying, "She deserves fun. I'm working nonstop." He didn't argue, but I caught the look he exchanged with another coworker, sympathy mixed with something like worry. The moment that truly unsettled me came on a random Tuesday. Emily casually asked, "Hey, when we get the house, will it be under both our names?" She said it lightly, like it was nothing. But her eyes didn't match the tone. They were too focused. "Too calculating, I answered slowly. "I'm paying for it, but we can talk about it." She smiled, relieved in a way that made my stomach twist. That was the first time I felt a cold. Quiet doubt slip under my skin when I couldn't quite shake. Closing on the house felt like the biggest victory of my life. After months of dragging myself through double shifts, skipped meals, and exhaustion so deep it felt like gravity had doubled, I finally held the keys. I remember standing in the driveway, staring at the place I'd imagined for months, light blue siding. A porch big enough for 2 chairs, windows that caught the sun in a way that made everything look warm. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I could breathe again. I wanted to surprise Emily, to remind her that all the stress, all the distance, all the weird tension lately, none of it mattered because this was our beginning. When she pulled up, I walked toward her with the keys in my palm. "Em," I said, smiling, we did it. Her reaction was strange. She squealed, hugged me, said all the right words, but something in her tone felt rehearsed. Like she was reading from a script she'd practiced on the way over. Inside the house, she wandered from room to room, taking pictures of everything. I walked behind her, waiting for the moment she'd turn, grab my hand and say, "This is perfect for us." But instead, she said, "This place will change everything. Not we. Not us. Just this place will change everything." Her voice was soft, almost distant. Later that evening, I checked the pictures she posted on social media. Every shot was carefully angled. The hardwood floors, the sunlight pouring into the kitchen, the backyard big enough for barbecues someday. But in all the photos, she had cropped me out. Not one picture included me standing right beside her when she took them. When I mentioned it gently, she shrugged. "I didn't like how I looked in the ones with both of us," she said, grabbing her phone. "Don't be dramatic." I tried to push the worry down, telling myself I was tired, overthinking. But as she moved through the house smiling at her screen instead of at me, I felt the first crack in the future I thought we shared. The first few weeks in the new house felt just off. I kept waiting for that moment where everything would click, where the move would magically fix the growing distance between us. But instead, it felt like Emily and I were living parallel lives close enough to see each other, but never touching the same reality. I'd come home after a long shift, hoping for warmth. Hoping for the version of her who once met me at the door with a kiss and a bowl of soup. Instead, she'd be scrolling on her phone, barely glancing up. The argument started small. "Did you pick up the wrong brand again?" she'd ask, irritated over something as minor as laundry detergent. Or, "Why are you home this late?" "You said midnight." I'd explain about overtime, machine breakdowns, staffing issues, but she'd roll her eyes like I was making excuses. One night, she slammed a cabinet shut and said, "You never listen. You're physically here, but mentally you're always somewhere else." The irony stung because I felt the exact opposite. There were nights when I'd walk in and hear her giggling softly, only for the laughter to stop the moment she realized I was home. Her phone would instantly flip face down. The screen would go dark. "Just a friend from work," she'd say casually, then change the subject so fast it felt rehearsed. But the silence, that's what really got to me. Sitting across from her at dinner and hearing nothing but the clink of utensils, feeling the weight of everything unsaid pressing down on my chest. Even the house itself felt colder, like the walls absorbed the tension. Then came the night that shifted something deep inside me. I got home earlier than expected after a shorter shift. As I stepped through the door, I heard Emily's voice upstairs, soft, almost sing-song, followed by a muffled laugh. I froze, listening. Then I heard her whisper, "He'll be gone till midnight. You can come over." My heart hammered against my ribs. I wasn't supposed to be home yet, and clearly, someone else was. My heart was pounding so hard, I could feel it in my fingertips. For a moment, I stood completely still at the bottom of the stairs, trying to convince myself I'd misheard, that maybe Emily was talking to one of her friends, that maybe the exhaustion was messing with my head again. But then I heard its soft footsteps, a low chuckle that definitely wasn't hers, and the sound of the bed springs shifting above me. My stomach dropped. Every part of me wanted to run, but something heavier, arger, dread, disbelief pulled me upward one step at a time. When I reached the hallway, I saw it. Our bedroom door slightly cracked open, dim light spilling out. I heard Emily's voice, hushed but playful. "Stop. He's not home yet," she whispered, followed by the man's voice, too confident, too familiar. "Relax. You said he works like all the time." The words hit me harder than any punch ever could. I pushed the door open. Emily scrambled, pulling the sheets to her chest, eyes wide like a trapped animal. The guy next to her sat up, shirtless, looking more annoyed than guilty. For a second, the whole world went silent. I felt like I was watching myself from somewhere outside my body, like this couldn't possibly be my life. Emily's mouth opened and closed before she managed to shaky, "Babe, this isn't what it looks like." "What does it look like, Emily?" My voice came out low, steady, nothing like the chaos tearing through my chest. The guy scoffed. She told me you two were basically done. I looked at her, waiting for her to deny it, to say something, anything that made sense. Instead, she burst into tears, clutching the sheets and choking out, "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. You've just been so distant. I didn't know what to do." Her excuses blurred together. My mind couldn't process it. The house I killed myself to buy. The future I thought we were building. All of it fractured in one brutal instant. And I hadn't even begun to understand how deep her betrayal really went. I don't remember walking out of that bedroom. One moment I was staring at Emily's tear-streaked face, and the next I was outside on the front lawn, gulping air like I was drowning. My hands were shaking so badly, I had to sit down on the curb just to keep from collapsing. The night felt colder than usual, sharp, biting in. Every sound around me seemed muffled under the weight of what I'd just seen. The house behind me, the one I worked myself half to death to afford, suddenly felt foreign, like it belonged to someone else. Emily eventually came outside, wrapped in a blanket, mascara smeared down her cheeks. "Can we please talk?" she whispered, her voice trembling more from panic than guilt. I didn't look at her. "Talk about what?" I said quietly. "You already made your choice." She stepped closer, reaching out like she expected me to hold her. But I stood up before her fingers could touch me. "You haven't been here," she blurted. "You're never home. You're always tired." I felt alone. "So you cheated?" I asked, stunned by the casual cruelty of the logic. "I made a mistake," she sobbed. "It didn't mean anything. It just happened." "No," I said, shaking my head. "Things don't just happen." She tried to insist it was the first time. She swore up and down that she'd panicked, that the guy didn't matter, that she just felt neglected. But every word felt like a shovel digging deeper into a grave she didn't even realize she was. Standing in, I walked away from her, not inside. Just down the street. I pulled out my phone and called my friend Jared. My voice cracked when I said, "Man, she cheated." There was silence on his end, then a quiet sigh. "I'm sorry, dude," he said softly. We kinda suspected something." The world tilted. Suspected. For how long? Who else knew? I felt sick, physically sick. I leaned over and threw up in someone's yard, shaking uncontrollably, as every ugly truth started lining up in my head. And yet, the worst part hadn't even hit me yet, when I finally dragged myself back home. Emily was sitting at the kitchen table, clutching a mug of untouched tea like it might save her. She looked up with swollen eyes and whispered, "Please, can we fix this?" But something inside me had snapped. I wasn't yelling, wasn't shaking, wasn't crying. I was disturbingly calm. And that calmness terrified her more than if I had screamed. "I need honesty," I said, sitting across from her. "All of it." "How long has this been going on?" She hesitated to long end. That was my answer before she even spoke. "A few weeks," she whispered. "It was stupid." "I'm sorry." Her voice cracked like she expected me to buy it. I didn't even respond. I just stared until she finally broke and admitted, okay, maybe a couple months." Something cold curled in my stomach. Later that night, while she showered, I walked into the bedroom and picked up her phone from the nightstand. I didn't even need to unlock it. Notifications lit up her screen, messages from a man saved under a woman's name. My hands trembled as I read them. "Tonight again? He won't be home till late? You were incredible last time. Use his card, he won't notice." My chest tightened. I scrolled further, and that's when the midpoint twist hit me like a freight train. They'd been seeing each other for almost a year. Practically the entire time I was working double shifts. There were receipts, hotel confirmations, screenshots of deliveries she'd ordered with my money, photos from bars and restaurants she told me she never had time to go to. And the worst part? A message from months ago. "Don't worry about the house. He's killing himself to pay for it. Just keep him distracted." I dropped the phone like it burned me. Emily came out of the bathroom humming, completely unaware that every lie she'd ever told had just unraveled. My blood went cold. This wasn't a mistake. It was a pattern. A betrayal rooted in calculation, not emotion. And I knew right then she would never benefit from a single thing. I sacrificed when Emily walked out of the bathroom wrapped in a towel. Humming like nothing in the world was wrong, something inside me shifted. Not rage, not heartbreak. Something colder clarity. I set her phone back exactly where I found it, sat on the edge of the bed and forced my breathing to steady. She smiled at me nervously. "Can we start over?" she asked, voice trembling with hope she didn't deserve. "Yeah," I said quietly. "We can talk tomorrow. I just need sleep." She let out a shaky breath of relief and whispered, "Thank you." If she noticed how hollow my tone was, she didn't show it. But inside, I was already leaving her. Over the next week, I played the part of the forgiving boyfriend. I brought home dinner. I asked about her day. I even let her curl up next to me on the couch like nothing had happened. Every time she touched me, I felt numb, like she was a stranger trying on the skin of someone I used to love. But she bought it, all of it. Emily interpreted my calmness as reconciliation. She had no idea she was watching the last flickers of my affection die out. While she slept, I went through every document tied to the house. Mortgage statements, deed paperwork, loan approvals. Every line confirmed it. The house was legally 100% mine. She hadn't contributed $1. She hadn't signed a single form. Her name wasn't anywhere near the ownership. The next day on my lunch break, I met with a realtor. "You're sure you want to sell?" she asked after hearing my barely edited explanation. "Absolutely," I said. My voice didn't waver. I wasn't selling a house. I was cutting out a parasite. Then I saw the newest message on Emily's phone, when she left it unlocked on the counter. "So he forgave you?" "Good. Keep him happy. We need time." My vision blurred for a moment. She wasn't sorry. She was playing me. That's when my plan sharpened into something razor-clean. If she wanted time, I'd give her just enough rope to hang the future she thought she'd stolen. The night everything finally crashed down, I came home from a late shift to a dark, empty living room. Emily had left a candle burning on the table, lavender, her favorite tanned. The smell hit me harder than the quiet. It felt like the house itself was mocking me with memories I didn't want anymore. I dropped onto the floor, leaning back against the cold wall, and for the first time since everything happened, I let myself feel it. All of it. The betrayal, the exhaustion, the humiliation, the crushing truth that I had built this dream alone. My chest tightened until I could barely breathe. I pressed the heels of my hands into my eyes, whispering, "How did I get here?" My whole life, I'd been the guy who worked hard, kept his word, did the right thing, and somehow, I ended up being the one played like a fool. Emily eventually came downstairs, wearing one of my shirts like she always did when she wanted to soften me. "Hey," she said gently, kneeling in front of me. "Are you okay? Do I look okay?" I choked out. She bit her lip, eyes filling with tears. "I know I messed up, but we can fix this. We just need time." I didn't answer. I couldn't. The part of me that once loved her was drowning under the weight of everything she'd taken. She placed a hand on my knee. "Please don't shut me out," she whispered. "I'm trying," pulled away from her touch. "Are you?" "Yes," she insisted. "He doesn't mean anything to me. I got lonely." I almost believed her. God help me. I almost let myself believe it just to stop hurting. But then, after she went to bed, her phone buzzed on the table. A preview lit up the screen. "From him? You think he'll keep paying once I move in?" Lol. My stomach twisted. The floor felt like it tilted beneath me. That was the moment, the rock bottom moment, when everything inside me snapped completely. Not from heartbreak, but from clarity. This wasn't a woman who made a mistake. This was someone who planned to use me until I had nothing left. And suddenly, I knew exactly what I had to do next. The next morning, I woke up feeling strangely hollow, like something inside me had finally burned out and left only cool ashes behind. Emily was in the kitchen humming, pouring coffee like we were the picture-perfect couple, starting another peaceful day. I watched her for a long moment, memorizing the ease on her face, the comfort, the certainty that she still had me wrapped around her finger. She didn't notice the shift in me. She didn't realize I wasn't breaking anymore. I was planning. While she showered, I grabbed my laptop, opened the realtor's email, and signed the final documents. My hands didn't shake. My breathing didn't falter. It was the calmest I'd felt in months. The sale went through faster than I expected, apparently. The market was good and the house was exactly what a newlywed couple wanted. The closing date landed just a little over a week away. Later that afternoon, Emily walked into the living room dressed up a little more than usual, tight jeans, curled hair, the perfume she never wore for me. "I'm meeting the girls," she said lightly, grabbing her purse. "Have fun," I replied with a small smile. She froze for a second, taken aback by my sudden softness. "Really?" "Yeah, don't worry about coming home early." Her expression softened with relief. And something else, something smug. Like she thought she still had me exactly where she wanted me. While she was gone, I started packing. Quietly, methodically, just my things, nothing of hers. Every drawer I emptied felt like shedding a layer of poison. I moved boxes into my car, parked down the street so she wouldn't see. I even cleared the closet where she kept her old stuff, things she'd touch maybe once a year. And then the realtor called. "Congratulations. The sale is officially finalized. Funds will clear tomorrow." I stared at the empty living room, the walls echoing softly. The house was no longer ours. It wasn't even mine anymore. It was a weapon, and soon it would land exactly where it needed to. When Emily got home that night, she found me cooking dinner. Smiling like nothing was wrong, she had no idea the ground beneath her was already gone. The next morning, I was already up before sunrise, sitting at the kitchen table with a stack of papers in front of me. Emily came downstairs, rubbing her eyes, wearing that sleepy smile she used whenever she wanted to seem harmless. "You're up early," she murmured, leaning down to kiss my cheek. I pulled back just enough for her lips to brush air. She froze. Confusion flickered across her face, but before she could speak, I slid a white envelope toward her. "What's this?" she asked, her voice small. "Open it," I said. She unfolded the paper slowly at first, then frantically once she recognized the format. Her eyes widened. "Notice to vacate?" Her voice cracked. "What is this? What is happening?" "The house is sold," I said calmly. Her mouth fell open. "Sold? You sold our house? Without telling me?" "Our house?" I repeated, raising an eyebrow. "Whose name is on the deed, Emily?" She opened her mouth, shut it again, then whispered, "But I thought we were working on us." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. There is no us. You ended that the moment you brought someone else into our bed. I reached into my folder and pulled out printed messages, photos, hotel confirmations. I spread them across the table like a grotesque timeline of her choices. Emily's knees buckled, and she sank into a chair. "Please," she choked out. "I'm sorry. I swear he meant nothing. I was lonely. I messed up. But please, don't do this. I have nowhere to go." I stared at her. At the same woman who laughed in messages about keeping me paying, the woman who used my money to cheat, the woman who planned to let someone else move into the home I killed myself to. "You had somewhere to go?" I replied quietly. "Go to him." She covered her face and sobbed, shaking. "He left," she whispered. "He blocked me. He doesn't want me." For a moment, her words hung in the air like a sad, pathetic confession from a person who finally realized the cost of their actions. But empathy never came. I stood up, gathered the remaining papers, and headed toward the door. Behind me, her voice cracked again. "Please, don't leave me." I paused at the doorway, and for the first time in a long time, I felt absolutely nothing. I walked out the door without looking back. The cold morning air hit my face like a reset button, sharp and cleansing. For the first time in months, I felt weightless, not because things were easy, but because I finally stopped carrying someone else's damage on my shoulders. I sat in my car for a long moment, staring at the house I once thought would be the beginning of my future. Now, it was just a shell, empty, silent, and no longer mine. I started the engine and drove away. Leaving behind a life that had been dying long before I admitted it, I rented a modest apartment the next day. Small kitchen, creaky floors, mismatched cabinets, but it was mine. No lies, no secrets, no perfume-soaked guilt hanging in the corners. I slept on an air mattress the first night, staring at the ceiling and listening to the distant sound of traffic. And strangely, I slept better than I had in months. Emily messaged me constantly. "Please just talk to me. I'm getting help. I miss you." I have no one. The messages got longer, more desperate, more panicked. I didn't block her, not out of hope or malice, but because her words no longer had impact. They were noise, nothing more. One afternoon, Jared dropped by with takeout and sat across from me on the floor. "You look different," he said after a while. "Better?" I asked. "Like someone who survived something they shouldn't have," he replied. It wasn't pity. It was respect. And for the first time, I felt it for myself too, in the quiet that followed. I realized something important. The revenge wasn't selling the house. It wasn't leaving her with nothing. It was reclaiming myself. Emily had taken my time, my energy, my trust, but she didn't get to keep my future. A few weeks later, I drove past the old house by accident. Another family had moved in. Kids' bikes in the yard, curtains in the windows, laughter drifting through the open door. The place finally felt alive, maybe for the first time. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel regret, just closure. And as I drove away, I knew with absolute certainty I may have lost her, but I got myself back. And that was worth more than anything I ever built for her.